Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Nicole Hennessy, the Vice President of Music Biz. Welcome to our Common Ground webinar series. Hope we're finding you today safe and healthy, still finding reasons to smile and creative ways to connect with your family and your friends and your colleagues. Music Biz is here for you in any way that we can help professionally or business help your businesses. Some of the things that we have been doing since our work days have changed a bit. For those of you that attend the Music Biz conference, the conference has been postponed from May until August. Our new dates are August 16th through the 19th, still at the JW Marriott in Nashville. So mark your calendars for that. We'll be continuing to add to the schedule and build out our program in the coming months. Also, we have instituted Music Biz Live, an online Zoom series. We kicked it off on Monday with representatives from Facebook and Instagram to talk about how to use those platforms to engage audiences, as well as to fundraise and do some social good. And yesterday, Wednesday, we had a number of fellow trade organization heads talking about how trade organizations are helping during this time. We have representatives from the RIAA, A2IM, NSAI, NMPA, and CMA, all led in conversation by our president, Portia Sabin. So the video recordings for those will be posted on musicbiz.org by Friday. If you did miss them this week, we have a slate of events coming up next week as well, both Monday and Wednesday, and those will be announced here shortly. So, check musicbiz.org or our social sites, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter. The handle for all of those is musicbizassociates. Music Biz ASSOC. So follow us via our website or our socials for more information on next week's Music Biz Live. But you're here today for our Common Ground webinar series. Today's presentation is presented by the Labz, and we are fortunate enough to have Farah Allen, CEO and co-founder of the Labz, an Atlanta-based business, here with us today. She's going to walk you through what the Labz is and get down in the nitty-gritty of what they do and how they do it and how they can help you. If you have questions for Farah throughout the presentation, there's a questions box on your screen. Feel free to put your questions in there, and Farah will have some time at the end for Q&A. So Farah, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Anytime. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mute myself. I'm going to turn it over to you and, listening in and learning along with everybody else. So thank you so much.
Thank you. It's really, really good to be here today talking to you guys. I'm in the comfort of my house, like so many of you, but honestly, it's why we have the company. The Labz have really seen a uptake in our users during this time, which is really good for the state of collaboration and being safe. So a little bit about my background. Yes, I am the CEO and co-founder of the Labz, but I've spent all my life playing instruments, mainly the saxophone, and really I went into technology later on in life and became really good at it and became really good at solving problems for people in their individual profession, especially when it came to collaborative systems. So why we have the Labz and what spawned this company is that though there's all these tools out there and all these professions and technology profession and for these professionals, the creative community, especially the music community, has specific intellectual property ownership and collaboration needs when it comes to tracking, and they're responsible for certain things. But the tools that are given to us in the community don't really reflect that idealism. Because really when we're creating content, anytime you share that content, it's actually a small business. And I mean by that is you have these things that you have to do from a professional standpoint that for everything that you share when it comes to your IP, when it comes to your ownership, when it comes to your protection mechanisms, if you have that, that is a small chunk or a large chunk of work. And when we look at what you really are doing outside of using, let's say if you're a producer using Pro Tools, or if you're a writer and using some writing app, those really professional nitty-gritty tools like Splice and all those great tools that I love today. Besides that, the rest of your process equals storage and file sharing, using collaborative anything, e-signing, because we need documents, and chatting and emailing. These are all the feedback loop mechanisms that we have today. So we can all agree on that, hopefully. So really where it comes down to the small business part of what you have to do as a creative. These tools, because they're all over the place and we're all using many different tools to do one single song, they're fragmented. And when you have fragmented tools, you lose data. There's no hub for anything when it comes to you creating it. Someone has written a lyric in WhatsApp, someone has sent a file in Google Docs, someone has sent a text message or email on splits and that decision. And you get a bunch of lost data that at some point someone may ask you for and you don't have and you don't know where it is. There's also a lack of security because you don't know who you're sending things to, or you forget because we're working on so many things at one time. And all in all, if you don't have project management skills, there's no way you're ever going to really be able to keep up with all this need. And though there's free tools out there, the free tools are free and they can bring you to a certain point. But if you're in a professional setting and you're consistently pushing out content, you're probably paying for something. And that's adding up. And none of these tools still don't solve the problem of that intellectual property, that small business task you have to do. And everyone on this phone has probably heard over and over again, 2.5 billion unclaimed royalties, and because of lack of ownership documentation. And when we view this and when we really get down and talking to why creators aren't submitting documents, it's because of the complexity with fragmented tools and everyone just using different things. And this is a culture alone. It's not set up for things to move along smoothly. And things get lost in translation and people forget, and it's just a mess. So those are issues that we see overall. So where we step in as Labz is we bring the world around us that's fragmented and put it into one place so that everything is there. It can be researched, it can be searched, and it's connected. That means your storage is connected and your file sharing is connected to your collaboration activities, which is connected to how you e-sign and what exactly you have to e-sign, which is connected to your communication and who you're communicating with, and being able to search all these things. And by collecting this information, we're actually protecting your intellectual property and your ownership and the activity and all the work that you put forward. So we have 3 products, and just briefly going over, there's a lot of things we do. I don't want to overwhelm anyone, but briefly, Vault 360, we call what we do with the data collection and keeping a ledger of activity and memorializing that activity as our 360 IP technology, which all our tools have. So our Vault 360 is our storage, which has that leisure activity that we have that I mentioned. So really it's about making storage a little bit easier, making sure storage is for media files, for writing files, making sure tags are there, how people upload is unique because it's for music creation or creative collaboration, and sharing links. It's extremely important, and we'll go into all of this later. But what I want to point out is every file that you create or have stored in our platform has 3 really important sections. If you upload an audio file, it's going to have your metadata. It's going to have your contributors, which with their role and their information, and they don't have to be a part of the labs, but it's great if they do because they get to share this information in their platform with you. And it also has, every file has the activity, the running ledger of activity of anything that's going on, whether if you ever shared a link or if anyone has ever opened it, or all of that is being shared. And as well as if anyone ever did any commenting or giving you feedback, all that feedback is attached to that file. All of this information is searchable through our platform as well. And then last, well, second before last, is our collaboration workspace, which is the fun. That's the party. That's where everything happens. And one of my colleagues will talk about his workflow as a producer and a writer. But really, this is about having a safe place for people to come and visually see things, visually see a file and being able to comment on a file. You can see lyrics that are already been created or write lyrics with someone, and it's formatted for lyrics. And whatever other tools we have a bunch of tools, and we're actually in the works to do APIs with Avid and other platforms that would be helpful for this process, for all the information be collected in one place. But one of the great things about this workspace is that we're collecting data around who's doing what, when, and how, and analyzing that data. That is really good for when you want to do something like a split sheet, if you want to be able to track at some point who changed something or who added something. That's all really good, really juicy information that you may need down the line. Especially if you're managing creatives or if you are the administrator of a song or a label or anything like that. And then last, our Sign 360. This is pretty much operates like a Google Docs, but it's not Google Docs. DocuSign. It's not DocuSign. DocuSign is created for the mortgage industry and then, expanded to other areas. But this is created for creatives. Creatives have different needs. They need to attach assets in their vault to actual documents. They need to do split sheets. They need to, things need to be automated. And there's already information that we've already collected. Why not put it in that document for them? Also, being reminded that something is due or going to expire, like a licensing agreement, or having some type of calendar attached to these assets. All these things are features that go along with what a creative would like and need for their profession when it comes to an e-sign signature platform. Now I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Jay Dash. He's a VP of our product, and he's also a super duper great creative, multi-platinum selling artist, producer, and songwriter. He's an award-winning film composer, and he's a really, really special and great software engineer. So I'm gonna let Jay take over.
Thank you. I hope everybody can hear me. My name is Jay, Jay Dash, and thank you for the great introduction. I hope everybody's doing well and staying safe at home. You can see some on the right, some of my work that I've done before. You may know my single The WAP, which recently went double platinum last December. And I recently scored a film called 83 Days, also in December, and it was nominated for 15 awards and won 10 of them. So let's talk about the kind of creative workflow and why the Labz to me is awesome. Now, before I was ever introduced to anything like the Labz, I was using about 10 different tools in order to do work. And I do everything from, music production and writing songs for other people to film scoring, as well as licensing for TV and film. And those processes can be very different, and some things can be taboo. And I've sold a lot of records over the years, and even to this day, the act of discussing split sheets almost makes me cringe. And I know it's like it's one of those things that you need to do it, but you don't necessarily want to be that guy all the time or that girl. being like, hey, I need you to sign this so we can work together. So what initially really attracted me to the Labz was the fact that it kind of took care of a lot of this stuff for you and helped you become more of a business person throughout the creative process. So right now, I'll just kind of walk through what it would look like actually creating something in the Labz, and we're starting with like a blank slate here. And say I wanted to invite some people into a session to collaborate, I could just click on that icon and then, you know, add some email addresses and start to tag people and what their roles are initially. And these things can be changed later as well. But it's really awesome because the Labz is so malleable and being able to work inside whatever your workflow is. So this is why I really appreciated it, because when working with different people and in different formats, I might categorize things and classify them different ways. And the Labz is just like water. It just fills whatever role I needed to. After I add whoever I wanted to collaborate with, I can just click send invite, send that invitation. And then once those people have signed into the Labz or agreed to join the session, we can all just start dropping our assets into the Labz. And so whether that be audio, so I recently did a project with the Willow Sisters. There's a song called Drunk on You. You can actually go find it on Apple Music and Spotify. And that whole project from soup to nuts was done inside the Labz platform. And so basically we started by just uploading sound. So I might upload a piece of music. They may, you know, do some lyrics on their phone or, you know, record a little something and upload it to the Labz session. So basically we had a ledger and a document of the creative process initially. And we were able to upload everything about this particular song in one place, and everybody was able to see things. Not only that, you can also add additional contributors after the fact. And go ahead and fare to the next slide. But then you can add comments, which was awesome because, you know, you might, similar to SoundCloud, when you're listening to something and you're like, oh, I really like this part at this particular point in the song. It's really helpful to be able to kind of track different ideas and the things that you like about different things in real time. And then also when it was time, we were like, okay, it's time to start jotting down some of these lyrics. We can actually open the lyrics module. We can, you know, open and play the song side by side. Or if I, you know, kind of had the music just playing in the background, I could actually collapse the audio portion of it and just have the lyrics up. What's really cool, if you see the numbers, like the line numbers, you can actually click and drag those lines around, which was really awesome. So maybe I wanted to move a line from the third line to the fourth line because it fit better. It was a little bit different. You can actually move lines around, and the Labz actually keeps a ledger of who wrote what line. And so you can really, you know, track at a granular level the contributions that you and other people have made throughout the song. Once we've done that, we can kind of expand. We can chat about the lyrics. We can add other ideas in this kind of global chat window, which is really cool. Now, say we finish the song and we say, okay, this thing is ready to go. We're actually able to look at the statistics on the song. Now, this is where, to me, it makes the conversation around splits a lot easier. Just because you're able to see like, hey, this person contributed this amount to the song. Now, we all know that maybe the hook may be a different slice of the pie than a verse or whatever. All of those conversations are always fluid, and it also depends on who you're dealing with and working for. But this is a really awesome way to start the conversation, because if you know you contributed 50% of the lyrics, you know what you may be giving up. Say you're writing for a larger artist and they want to take a bigger piece of the pie. It gives you a little bit more leverage in knowing what it is that you've contributed to the song. You can add, you know, filters to kind of filter things down. It's really awesome in viewing information and metadata about each piece of work. You can also see an activity log of everything that has happened with this particular work. So as we finish the song and start finalizing things, all of this stuff is kept in one place and will always be there and won't change. Which for you tech people out there is actually built on top of the blockchain, which is kind of this immutable, unchangeable thing. So there are a lot of modules that the Labz has created for us to create things and collaborate: audio, video, script writing, live video chat, adding photos, notes, documents, and just a regular chat window. So it's basically everything that one would need to create, and in many different formats. So what happens is once you've uploaded things to a workspace, it's cool because it automatically gets added to the vault. So yeah, it's a part of this, larger body of work, but similar to a Dropbox, you have like all of your individual files in one place. And even if you uploaded it directly into a workspace, it's automatically added here. And these tags, I want you to pay attention to those tags. If we can go back one slide. The tags portion is really important when doing something like, music licensing and publishing and stuff like that. So I've worked with a lot of different TV companies, and they may be looking for a particular piece of music. This is a really easy way to add metadata to your songs to kind of classify them, to say, oh, this is a high energy piece, or however it is that you classify your pieces of music. So if you want to go back and look in your own library for, a particular sound for maybe a TV show or something like that, it makes it really easy to kind of classify and find those files again when you need them. Cool, we can move forward. And also, if you click on the individual pieces of music or the individual files, all of the metadata for the individual file is there as well as the contribution to each of those pieces. So if it's like an individual audio file, you can add the contributions and who did what there, and add contributors to each individual file. As well as you can see the activity on the file, again, based on that immutable chain of custody. And then you can actually add comments and see the comments left on each individual file. So this is really helpful because a lot of times we'll create stuff and we won't use it again for months. And so you might not remember who all did what on each individual piece of music. One of my favorite things in the Labz is the way that we can manage links. So if you ever, created something and uploaded it to Dropbox and you wanted to share it with, say an A&R person at Atlantic or Universal, or maybe your mom or something, you generate these links and you send them and you share them with the person, and then you don't necessarily know who you shared them with after a while, or whether or not they've even opened them. So if there's something like, you want to share it with somebody that could give you a record deal or something, you might want to know whether or not they've even opened it. With that link comes this. So if I received a link and I clicked on the link, it would send me here, and it just asked me for my name and my email. I click continue, and then I can see the song. Why that's important is because I can now tell, as the owner of that asset, who has viewed that asset, when they did. And so I don't need to continue to bother somebody that I know hasn't opened the link, right? There are entire platforms just built around this function, and the Labz comes with it out of the box. So I thought that was pretty awesome. Not only that, people that aren't necessarily members of the Labz, all they have to do is enter their name, and they can come in here and add comments to the song, so you know exactly how that person may feel, or maybe they loved it, maybe they didn't. They can come in and leave comments, and you can have all of that stuff in one place. And then say after a while, maybe you send it out to a song out to a few people, and you were trying to sell a piece of music. One person may have exclusively bought the song. You can actually change the security by turning the access to that link off for another group of people, which is really cool. So it really gives you a lot more control over your assets. So the takeaways from all of this is that the Labz kind of helps streamline the process of music collaboration. And it definitely handles a lot of the administrative side of music, so we as creatives don't necessarily have to think about it. And it puts the contributions at the forefront to spark conversations around negotiations. And there's so many other things that the Labz handles. Again, there are about 10 different tools that I needed to use to do everything that I just walked you through. And then again, we're a boutique company, so we're constantly having conversations with our users and innovating around what else do you need in order to collaborate all in here? Because at the end of the day, I had never found a tool that was so comprehensive and felt like it was meant for me as a creative and as an artist to put out my own music and protect everything around that, and also work inside of whatever my workflow was, which for me changes over time. So with that being said, I'll turn it back over and open it up for any questions that you guys might have.
Yes, thank you so much, Jay. Yeah, just to elaborate on what Jay says, we are a boutique company, and we like that. We have conversations with business owners who are having a hard time getting information from their artists, catalog owners, you know, even just teachers at universities for music programs, and you know, everyone has some type of need based off of our base. Like we call the Labz, this is the base of understanding. We need artists to come in and enjoy collaborating on our system, and we've accomplished that. We launched last March this platform, and the version that you see right now, but Jay just went over, that's our 2.0. If you go to labz.com right now, you're going to see our 1.0, and we're coming out with our 2.0 end of next month. But with our 1.0, we've had over 7,000 people come into our platform and use it. During this time period where you know, people have to work at home and it's a lockdown, we've actually been on sessions with some of our artists that needed a little bit more help with how to start a project remotely, because they've always been at the studio. So we've been doing hands-on admin work, you know, hour or two with some folks, because we really want to make sure that now do we have everything that you need in order to work with someone. So that's kind of a company we are, and we just want to make sure we keep ourselves close to the creative and have a great understanding of what's needed. If you guys have any questions, I see one. Okay, that wasn't a question. All right, if you guys have questions right now, just feel free to come in and ask any in the questions section. One question people always ask is, you know, about our stats and how we calculate percentage of contribution, which is interesting, because you know, folks, how our users are using that is really like just a baseline. Okay, there is percentage of contribution. That is something I have to think about. That's the first way that they're using it. The second way is how much activity has someone actually put into developing this project. And then they look at the actual percentage. So we calculate that percentage by the number of uploads, the number of words. We don't use comments or any of the chat words, but we do just look at the number of uploads. If you've been added to the ownership of an upload, then we calculate that as well. And then we have different filters where you can filter out just the music, what's my percentage contribution for that, or just the lyrics, so that we're covering more ground and making it easier for people to kind of get the idea of what splits people should have. Jay, is there any other questions that people tend to ask a lot? Oh, what blockchain are we using? We're using the Ethereum blockchain. And right now, what we're using blockchain for, which is the first phase of what we're using it for, is to memorialize signatures and add that memorialization of signatures to the actual file and the PDF. So that's what we're using it for. But we have tons of partners that are in the music blockchain sector that that are interested in collaborating and partnering together so that we can share this first level of data with them. So we're working on those partnerships as well.
And Claire, Farah, did you speak on the collaborations with Sound Exchange, and we had a question around the integration of PROs as well?
Okay. I don't see these questions. So yes, we're working on getting those relationships started. We have talked to SOCAN, so that's one of our first PRO that we want to integrate with and send them data, metadata as soon as we split sheet information, as soon as we our users are finished or have signed. Other than that, we're working very hard to make those relationships. But all our users, would receive communication with us through newsletters and weekly communication about what to do once you have ownership information. So the education is really big with us. That's why we started this. So if before these relationships are really fine-tuned, they will actually know that a PRO is needed. They need to do these following steps.
Sure.
And if you are a PRO and you want to connect with us, just send me an email.
We have a question from Christina asking how are we set up regarding how can she have comfort that this will stick around for years?
I think we have a small company mindset. We haven't raised a lot of money. At first, it wasn't by choice, but it turned out to be the best decision. We haven't raised a bunch of money. Everyone on our team is, you know, we take customers and we take the work that we can control, and we're not growing at this really quick pace, and we're not trying to. We really want to make sure we're really good at what we're doing. So even a lot of the features that we want to do, we don't do because we don't want to have to go out and raise and hire more, and then the likelihood of a company failing does raise a lot when you grow a lot faster than you should. So I don't know if that's comforting for you, but we've planned to stick around for many, many years. Our blockchain, we're moving into the blockchain storage sector. So that information, whether we're around or not, your storage would be there for you. And that information would be there for you. So hopefully that helps.
Also, we have a question from Starlin around how does the platform allow for attorneys to access the information in order to negotiate the artist's agreement? And I can take that one, which is really you can add anybody to a session and just assign them a role. So if my attorney wanted to be added to a particular session, I could just add them as an observer on the session, and they could use the information generated from that to negotiate term splits, you know, whatever they needed. They could kind of be added to a session from the beginning or at the end if they needed to kind of see all the stats associated with it. Hopefully that answers the question.
And with some of the feedback we've been getting around our beta for the Sign 360, which is our DocuSign, I mean, attorneys are they have a lot of suggestions around that, and it's certainly about commenting and getting feedback, giving feedback to the artists in negotiation. So if you have suggestions, please reach out. We want to make sure this is useful for folks. So other than what we said, if you have more questions or suggestions, just let me know.
And also something Christina brought up was she's interested in how rights and information is passed on to heirs over time. And is that something that we have considered? I think that is an amazing question. And that kind of goes into how we partner with whoever is the PRO. And that's a part of that conversation, just because you know, we can keep the initial information on the track, and that is immutable. That never changes, right? So if something is passed down, there's usually other paperwork involved with that. Those documents can also be stored in the Labz in the document section and attached to that that particular piece of work. So if there are, you know, inheritance documents that come along with the publishing and passing rights down over to other people, those can all be kept in the same place. So that way, whenever you go back to look at that particular song or even groups of works, you can have that particular document attached to that song forever. Hopefully that makes sense.
Awesome. Oh, difference between free user and paid user. Free users have they can be invited to any lab session as much as they want, unlimited invites, but they can only start one lab session themselves as the admin. Free users have a limit on their storage, and also free users just pretty much it. Limit on storage and how many sessions they can initiate.
All right, and we have a really important question from, hopefully I'm pronouncing this right. Is it Johannes? I'm not sure. Hopefully I got that right. But they ask, can I set the splits between the creators without our system AI? Absolutely. So again, everything that that the Labz generates for you is really kind of the starting point of negotiations. It's not like set in stone. Although the numbers that are calculated from the algorithm are set in stone, the actual splits that are generated and signed are completely up to you, right? So, but you can attach that split sheet to the body of work in the document section as well. So that particular piece, you know, that particular song might have a split that says it's 50-50, even though the algorithm says that you contributed 65% of the lyrics, right? And that's okay, because I mean, we all know in this industry, everything is up for negotiation. So the Labz is not here to say this is the only way you can do business. It really is like water, and it will mold itself to whatever container you put it in, right? Like it'll be whatever your business process is, and we'll work with your workflow, if that makes sense.
Yep. Okay. We're just looking through the questions right now. All right, someone had a question around cost. All right, so cost, we try to come as close to a Dropbox or a Google or a DocuSign as possible. So the cost is $12.99 a month or $120 a year, and that comes with a gang load of storage and unlimited workspaces and for your documents, e-signature, all of those things you ultimately would pay separate for, we pay in one. So when we launch next month, we actually have a bunch of really good specials that we'll be providing people, where it's 50% off for next year or two. Just follow us on social media or just email me and we can set you up with those deals. But the whole point is to save you money and not to have you spending money on the, you know, sometimes they're free tools, but they're free for a reason. But the tools that you actually pay for to get value out of them, I mean, we are definitely literally a quarter of the price of what you would pay for that, for all those tools together to make one complete workflow. All right. Thank you guys so much for your time. I really appreciate you all, and please be safe out there. Email Farah Allen at thelabz.com or J, the letter J, at thelabz.com. You want to reach Jay for anything.
Thank you both for your presentation today. Lots of great information, lots of great questions for our audience. Be sure you check out the musicbiz.org website for next week's Music Biz Live, as well as our Common Ground webinar series. We have events up there on the webinar series through April. We'll be adding some more in May, and I believe there's some up there in June. So we'll have a full spring, summer lineup up there, so keep checking back regularly. Thank you, Farah. Thank you, Jay. Thank you all for being here. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you here soon. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.